Good evening, everyone. This is Sandy Shellis, and with me, of course, is the wonderful Jennifer Hines, and we are actually kind of happy tonight that I'll let Jennifer do the
Ah,
lead in, but there's a couple
well,
of things we're testing the new connection, and we have some things that we have to work out, but it's looking good for now with the company. But how you doing, Jen?
I'm doing a lot better this week than I was doing last week. Last week I was pretty tense. I have to say I've been wrapped up in this presidential election.
Me too.
Probably like a lot of people. I mean, some people just don't watch it and they don't care. That's not me. And I was kind of like depressed on Tuesday night because I was seeing shades of 2016 and I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
God, please don't
Really?
don't have this happen again. And I felt like it was going to be a repeat of 2016. I'm like, this can't happen. I can't bear it. I can't bear another 4 years of this jerk.
Absolutely
And
not.
I just started watching, like probably a lot of people, and turned around. Thank Lord. And so I'm pretty happy about that. So I'd like to say big congratulations, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm a huge Kamala fan. I think she's
Well,
wonderful.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I hear an echo. I don't know if it's on my side. Oh, we'll get through this. Anyway, anyway, I don't think it's echo cancellation. I had everything set up, Jennifer, but we're not going there. If there's a problem, it's not. I'm not worrying about it. We are going to have a great show. And yes, congratulations, because now, yeah, we have a few months, but we're going to get rid of that clueless moron in the White House and his whole grifting family and all of them, and I'm very happy about that. But
I'm
we have a
thrilled about
lot.
it. I mean,
Well,
I
yeah.
know that we're in a demise cycle, but why hasten the process? I mean,
Mhm.
we've got a huge show lined up for you guys today, and I think you're
We
going to
sure do.
absolutely love it. And one of the things we're going to cover is how many environmental regulations Trump pushed back, just basically undoing anything that was good, like an anti-life demonic person would or something, right? Somebody who doesn't value existence and anything. So it's a good show. So do you mind, Sandy, if I can go through the lineup here, what we're going to be
No, I
covering
will
tonight?
pull it up. And while you're
All
doing
right.
that, I'm going to check the echo cancellation. I don't like the way it sounds.
All right.
So go
All
for it,
right.
my
Well, I'm just
darling.
going to go ahead, right? I'm just going to go ahead. So, the first article we're going to cover tonight is an article from Nature, a great publication, as many of you know, and it's Scientists Relieved as Joe Biden wins tight U.S. presidential election. The new president has the opportunity to reverse 4 years of anti science policies, but he has a hard road ahead as he inherits a nation divided. So true, right? He's
So
got a
true.
really hard road ahead. I don't envy his job. Um, Let me shut that down. Sorry, I have to accept cookies or something. Okay, the next one we have is from Scientific American, and it's an open letter to Joe Biden. And by the way, all of these articles tonight were curated by the illustrious Sandy Shallis. Thank you, Sandy. So this is from the Scientific American, an open letter to Joe Biden. You must rebuild public trust in the scientific impartiality of the EPA, the DOE, and other agencies. Also, just out. And then we have one from the New York Times, and it's the Trump administration is reversing nearly 100 environmental rules. Here's the full list. And so we'll just kind of give an overview of what they did.
Yeah.
Then we'll jump over to an article from the Sydney Morning Herald, and also about Trump. Oil giants will miss friend, in quotes,
Uh
Trump
huh.
wary of Biden. And then it shows a picture with Trump with Mohammed bin Salam. Always a good reference. Then we have an article from Counterpunch, also just out, from our very favorite Robert Hunziker. It's called A Troubling Discovery in the Arctic. And it's kind of a deep dive into what's happening in the Arctic right now. I know that's a huge concern for everybody.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and we have, I think, two more articles if we manage to get through this far. We've got one from The Conversation and another Arctic article, Arctic Ocean, Why Winter Sea Ice Has Stalled and What It Means for the Rest of the World. Mm-hmm. And very fascinating article. And then kind of a feel-good article at the end, if we get a chance. We've been following the Polar Stern on their Arctic voyage throughout the winter. Polar Stern crew, after a year trapped in the sea ice, nature is still boss in the Arctic, with a really cool picture of the Polar Stern. So that's where we're going tonight, Sandy.
Awesome. I'm thrilled. And then of course we have Zach Labe's Twitter to look at, and Ben C. Climate Ben. So we are going to get started. First, we'll just do the quick hello to everybody. Hi guys, it is great to see Kim Centeno, our mod. Thank you very much, and a new person, Protectorian. Humans here, TCR, Osama. Thank you, Osama. I'm going to be calling you. Rich Diana, thank you. I'm going to be loving you. Going south, of course, Torstein's here, and Suzanne Forestipi. It's so great. Had's with us, Brian Melt's with us, Forest Dweller. This is so fantastic.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone.
The whole damn family.
The whole family's here. I mean, who have I missed? Gary Ballard, Kent Deal. Oh, Kent's here. Hi, Basil.
Hi, Kent.
Basil's my brother, because I love his wife. And Boiled Rope Lampposts. All right, so we're ready to get started. This is fantastic. Hi, Poppy Davis. And Anton's here. Oh, this is wonderful. Great. We are ready to rock and roll. I don't have any big video for you tonight. Nope. Basically, we're just getting down. We're getting down to business. So, what do you say, Jen? You into the first one?
Sure. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl here. This just came out November 7th. So actually yesterday, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
So as soon as Joe Biden was declared president, I'd like to focus on a word in here, the word relieved. I think many of us felt relieved. I felt of breath collectively from the entire world, who wanted to get rid of this evil scepter, bad spirit that was like pervading the entire world's consciousness. Horrible. He's gone. So
not
scientists
yet.
are
not
relieved.
Gone yet.
Yes. Stay tuned. Who knows what's going to happen, right? We have no idea. Yeah, we're off the reservation on this one. Oh, yeah. Okay. Scientists relieve as Joe Biden wins tight U.S. presidential election. The new president has the opportunity to reverse 4 years of anti-science policies, but he has a hard road ahead as he inherits a nation divided. No kidding, right? Biggest mistake I always make, Sandy, is I always kind of assume that somehow inside everyone thinks the way what I mean, but it's not true. It's just not. It's not true. Right.
Not true.
So let's go through a couple of paragraphs of this one. It's from nature.com. Joe Biden will soon be president of the United States, and scientists the world over are breathing a collective sigh of relief. But concerns remain. Nearly half the country voted for President Donald Trump, whose actions have repeatedly undermined science and scientific institutions. Biden will have his work cut out for him in January as he takes the helm of a politically polarized nation. Our long national nightmare is over, said Alta Charo, a bioethicist at the University of Wisconsin Law School, quoting President Gerald Ford's famous 1974 remarks about his predecessor, Richard Nixon's scandal-ridden term. I couldn't say it any better than that. Despite votes still being counted and legal challenges from Trump and his team in some states, major media outlets in the United States declared Biden the victor on 7th November after confirming that he won Pennsylvania and captured enough electoral votes to claim victory. Once Biden takes office on 20 July, he will have an opportunity to reverse many of the policies introduced by the Trump administration that were damaging to science and public health. This includes actions on climate change, immigration, COVID-19 pandemic, which could claim more than 250,000 lives in the United States before Trump leaves office in January. Researchers are hopeful that much of the damage can be repaired with Trump out of the picture. Out, out, bad spout. Yeah, out. Instead of dog eat dog, maybe we will have a modicum of international cooperation, greater adherence to laws and treaties, more civility in politics across the globe, less fake news, in quotes, more smiles and less anger. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Oh my God. A fucking collective sigh of relief. No, I mean, really, I feel exhausted.
I know.
I am exhausted.
I've bitten my fingers
from
raw.
This epic reality show that we've lived through, but I'm grateful and ever so much more grateful for Biden than I would have been if I hadn't been afraid of losing him, right? I mean, I really cherish the man, and I love Kamala so much. So good, well, goody for us. You know,
okay.
Goody for us.
You want to go on? Or are we good?
No, I'm good.
All right, I want to make a
really
little
long, and we have
it's long, and I'm going to make a quick little commentary here on this. I'm just hoping that I'm a lot more progressive, and I'm hoping to see a lot of things. And I hate the word hope. Hope is a hard word, but I really want to see Joe Biden get pressed for the things that progressives want. I mean, all the Congress seats that were the incumbents or the Congress people that ran for Medicare for all won, and the Democrats that didn't win were all centrist, not for Medicare for all. So it's telling a story. And but I do have hope. There's what does he have, a $2 trillion plan, and he will surround himself with people that are scientists, and that is the best part, is that science won. Science won. Okay. So now that we know science, So now we know science won, and I said my little piece of what I would like, and I'm happy that I think Bernie Sanders will have his ear, and I think that the young people are wonderful, and they're absolutely on. It's spot on, and the celebrations out there were just inspiring to see, because there was no looting. When good things happen, people go out and celebrate. They don't want to hurt anything. This is what we want in our world. We want justice, and yes, the end result, Jennifer, as we know, is not going to be pretty. I mean, we're in abrupt climate change, but while we're getting there, it's nice to go down on a ship that's not a classless.
You don't have to be tormented daily with a complete lunatic. I mean, seriously, Yeah. Biden is sane.
He's not a lunatic. He's sane, and we have a lot of work to do for the next. Jump in. The work's got to be done. All these regulations have to be fixed. Tongass. The damage that can happen in the next 4 months, Jennifer, is absolutely could be tragic if Trump pushes it. Tongass, and there's just it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming amount. But let's move on because I could blob about this for the whole night. And I guess I don't want to do that the whole night. I just want to get through and talk about the stuff that's very interesting for everybody. So the next is we didn't go through the open letter, right?
No,
No.
it's
All
ready
right.
to
This
go.
is just going to be okay. I'm going to go quickly on this one because we do have a lot going on here. All right. So in the last 4 years, federally funded science agencies were unmade and remade. They were given their marching orders. The mandate of providing the nation with unbiased scientific advice was replaced by a new mandate that science is subordinate to the political goals and ego of President Trump. The consequences of this new mandate are serious. Okay, I lost myself. Are serious and far-reaching. The Environmental Protection Agency became the Environmental Pollution Agency, rolling back protections on clean air and clean water, providing regulatory relief to President Trump's campaign contributors from the fossil fuel industry. Scientists at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration were censored for challenging President Trump's incorrect forecast of the path of the hurricane. Remember that? What a moron. At multiple federal agencies, climate science became the subject that must not be named. And I remember this, Jennifer, when they first changed the pages on the White House website.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
was
are you
so
fucking
pissed
kidding
off.
me? Yeah,
According to
it was
the EPA,
crazy.
before and after, you could take screenshots of how the EPA website looked before and after.
Yeah,
It was like a blow to the chest. It really was,
it was
how they
awful.
just basically extracted climate change from the EPA's policy and conversation altogether.
Absolutely. And then, he took us out of Paris. And even though there's a lot of controversy in our community about Paris, it's still better to be in than out. I don't care what anybody says. But, all right. So he said President Trump's incorrect. Okay. Their sin? Failing to adhere to the prime directive that the president is never wrong. At multiple federal agencies, climate science became the subject that must not be named and the subject that must not be studied. And most recently, federally funded scientists unwilling to support the president's incorrect narrative of a country rounding the corner on COVID-19 were publicly ridiculed and dismissed as idiots. And I have to say one more thing, Jen, that as I was a research administrator, I did hear from friends, since I'm not in the business anymore, that sponsored program funding was down incredibly, and it was hurting the universities. And also not being able to bring in the students from around the world on F1 visas as easily. And the H1B visa program, I mean, he really hurt sponsored programs and research in the universities. And that was my little aside, because that is what I heard from my friends that are still in the business. So
Absolutely.
this guy said, what was his name? The letter, Dear Mr. President, from Ben Santer. Okay, Ben says he was a federally funded climate scientist until September 2020. He was supported by the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Biological and Environmental Research. I used pattern recognition and methods to identify human fingerprints on climate. I worked with colleagues at Lawrence Livermore National Lab and at research institutes and universities around the world. Around the world, which is another thing that was hurt, Together, we found We found human fingerprints in the temperatures of the atmosphere, the land surface, and the world's oceans. We detected signs of human influence on ocean heat and content, salinity, snowpack depth, the timing of steam flow from snow-fed river basins, atmospheric moisture, drought behavior, and clouds. We learned that human fingerprints on climate are not an isolated phenomenon. They are ubiquitous, present in dozens of independently monitored climate records. Guess what? The Department of Energy supported climate fingerprint research for over 25 years. Then that's it. This research survived transitions between a Democratic and Republican administrations. It withstood shifts in the composition of the Senate and the Congress, but it did not survive a very stable genius God, who counters his expertise superior to that of all scientific experts. Nor did the climate fingerprinting survive the changing of the guard at a remade Department of Energy. New leadership that walked away from the same research that the DOE had funded. This seismic shift in political climate, it led to apprehension and fear among my younger scientific colleagues. Some worried about the green card applications. Now, what I was talking about. Could their application be adversely affected by co-authoring a paper that rebutted incorrect scientific statements made by former EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt? Others worried about funding. Could their DOE support be cut if we continue to engage in climate fingerprint research? Should we simply hide and self-censor? Should we avoid any research areas viewed with disfavor by the President of the United States? Our climate fingerprint group did not self-censor. Throughout the tenure of the Trump administration, we continued to study the nature and causes of climate change, research that is in the best interests of the citizens of this nation and this planet. We continue to believe that the U.S. national laboratories are an appropriate place to perform such research, and we continue to report on our findings to speak science to power. We did not hide. Over the past 4 years, Americans had ample opportunity to observe the consequences of willful scientific ignorance. Ignorance is toxic and it's fatal, Jennifer. It is a potent vector for the spread of the COVID-19 virus. It hampers effective action on climate change, burdening our children with present and future climate disruption they did nothing to incur. Ignorance isolates us from the rest of the world. The United States is the world's pariah nation, unwilling to accept science, unwilling to participate in international efforts to control a global pandemic, and unwilling to take part in international efforts to reduce emissions of heat-trapping greenhouse gases, because really we are in a greenhouse gas crisis, which is what Frank Rotering says. Our peers in the free world would view us with pity and concern. Jennifer, you want to do the rest of it? It's really good.
Yes, my kitty cat just jumped up, and so I got a little bit distracted.
That's
where
okay.
We are. So
it's okay.
Not exactly sure where we are.
I think where we are is Mr. Biden assuming your election. It's after that picture of the ornaments. Got it?
Nope, not yet.
It's okay. Everybody has patience because everybody's digesting this, especially where we are a pariah nation. If you want, I can pick it up.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, go for it.
Mr. Biden, you will face two immediate formidable challenges. The first is bending the curve of COVID-19 infections. The second is to bend the curve of greenhouse gas emissions toward a more sustainable pathway to attain emissions curve that reduces the risk of significant climate disruption. An additional important challenge is to restore public trust in science and scientists. You must rebuild public trust in the scientific impartiality of the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Department of Energy, the Centers for Disease Control, and many other federal agencies with scientific remits. You must convince the women and men working in these agencies that their new prime directive is not political loyalty to one person. The new directive is get the science right. You will have to inspire the disillusioned and disheartened, reverse the loss of critical expertise at scientific agencies, and make public service at these agencies an aspirational goal for the next generation of young scientists. In achieving this restoration of trust, you can count on the help of many thousands of US scientists.
Oops.
I was educated in the British Army School in Germany. My education was heavy on poetry. One poem that stuck in the sieve of my memory was by Thomas Hardy. It describes a desolate winter landscape at the tail end of the 19th century. In the cold, inhospitable countryside, against a backdrop of political instability in Europe, a solitary thrush is singing. The poem captures the disconnect between the bleak physical setting, the portents of conflict, in the clear, beautiful bird song. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good night air some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware. Today we live in similarly ominous times. We wish for signs in that darkness of the last 4 years is lifting. For singing in the wilderness, our blessed hope for a better future is invested in you.
I thought
Van
that was good.
Santer.
I really liked it. You know, that's
Yeah,
hearing from
really
a
well.
scientist who's been hurt and who you saw the difference, and it went from boom, destruction. But
Yeah.
and we move on because
Yes.
we can talk about, and we're going to do this really quickly, this one, because we'd be here all night if we were going to talk about the 72 all of the completed rollbacks. But this is going to be a job to get
Yeah.
these environmental rollbacks unrolled. I mean, this is going to take a big team, and the EPA needs to be strengthened, and we need some kick-ass scientists as a head of the EPA that we can all get behind. And I'm thinking of names, but we should have a contest, see who he picks. But I mean, we really need somebody strong, and I hope
Oh,
we get
yeah.
somebody strong. Oh my gosh. Gazer's here. Hi, Gazer. Okay, so we'll go through these, just a few, because they are reversing nearly 100 rules. And I already had done a live stream about this a while ago, and the New York Times keeps updating these. They did a good job updating them. And actually, right here is the one of the little charts, and it shows that completed, in progress, and total. So you can see it that way. Air pollution and emissions, completed 21, in progress 5, total 26. Drilling and extraction, infrastructure and planning, animals, water pollution. Now, water pollution, let's see. 6 rollbacks, 3 in progress, 9. And this moron talks about, Trump, I want clean water and air when he's asked about climate. He's a fucking idiot.
I am so freaking over him.
I'm telling you.
Just, and I get frustrated even when Biden talks about climate, because I say,
You know.
the existential threat of climate change. And they freaking talk about clean air
I
and clean
know.
water.
I
They
know, Jennifer.
barely, Biden did mention the word CO2. I went back and watched it, but they don't grapple with the matter at hand,
I
but
guess that's where the
but
movement's going to come in.
Trump is the one that drives me batshit,
Batshit
basically.
drove me batshit too. I had
Batshit.
Trump derangement syndrome. Everybody knew it. I got yelled at from friends and friends that were progressives that just got sick of me talking about it.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, let's see what we do. You want to go further in this? I mean, it gives you an example of all of the stuff, and if you want, the
Yeah.
link will be in there with the New
Well,
York Times.
yeah.
What would you like to do?
Absolutely. I think it's good to just kind of acknowledge the things that he did reverse instead of just saying that he reversed a bunch of stuff, just so people really understand. So I'm going to
Okay.
go for the rule reversals, and I'm not going to go through the numbers.
All
I'm
right.
just
Tell me
going to
where to
say
go.
which things were I just the first thing that you come to, the little chart, rule reversals. So air pollution and emissions,
Mm-hmm.
drilling and extraction,
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure and planning, animals. It's the very first thing in the article, Sandy, in the New
Yeah.
York Times article. Very
Right.
first
I'm
thing.
there.
Okay. Animals, water pollution, toxic substance, and things like that. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
everything that you can imagine was basically hammered and times 100, and it's just amazing. There's a lot of repair work to do, and I know it's ironic that we're trying to even do repair work, but you have to try, you have to do it, even if ultimately the outcome is bad. At least maybe in the meantime things can be not as bad, right?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly how I feel. Exactly. Just like you. Okay, where are we?
We can go to the next article, I think.
Okay. This one's an interesting one, Jen. You can take
Yeah.
this one. Yeah, this one's that
Yeah.
lovely one with yeah, look at this with the killers. The
Oh
vicious
God.
murderers. Vicious
The vicious
murderers.
murderers.
Yep.
Absolutely vicious murderers. Those were his friends.
Of course.
Oil giants will miss friend Trump, wary of Biden. Key members of OPEC are wary that strains in the OPEC alliance could reemerge with Joe Biden as U.S. president, sources close to the organization said, and would miss Donald Trump, who went from criticizing the group to helping bring about record oil output cut. Sorry, there's a cat who's trying to get comfortable on me.
I don't
Biden
know. Your
could
one cat
modify.
does that.
She does. Anytime I'm live online, she
I
likes to
know you.
jump up
And
and
mine
get
like
in the
run
picture.
away.
It's so funny. She's so funny. But
Yeah.
she's helping. This is her role.
It's a
Biden could
roll.
modify U.S. diplomatic relations with three members of OPEC, de facto leader Saudi Arabia, the sanctioned countries Iran, Venezuela, as well as key non-OPEC producer Russia. Russia is the leader of oil producers allied with OPEC, a group known as OPEC Plus. I
OPEC
think it's pretty,
Plus.
you know, it's kind of
Wow.
boring. It's a lot of policy and all this stuff, but I think it's just really good to know that,
Mm-hmm.
everybody that Trump was friends with, I mean, he just consistently was friends with authoritarians, with
Yes, of course.
megalomaniacs, with dictators, with, you know, killers. He liked killers, you know.
Didn't he now? Somebody was
Yeah.
saying to me today that they think that Joe Biden needs a lot of protection because the cult members, we have 70
Mhm.
million people we have to deprogram somehow.
That's
And
right.
and the cult people are out for blood, and that people are actually scared for Kamala and Joe, and that's really sick. That's pretty sick, and it's pretty sad, but it's the way our
Yeah,
country has
no, it's true.
gotten.
There are a
And
lot of violent people out there. There is
yeah.
one more paragraph here that I just kind of
Oh,
came
sure.
upon. It's a little further
Okay.
on. It's under the heading global threat. Biden has named Russia as Washington's most serious global threat. During his campaign, he also pledged to reassess ties in Saudi Arabia. Trump in April was involved in talks that led to a deal in which the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and Saudi Arabia worked with allied producers led by Russia to agree on a record oil supply cut as the coronavirus outbreak hammered demand. Trump stepped in to put political pressure on Saudi Arabia and Russia to end a dispute that had sparked a price war and resulted in both countries planning to raise output just as the pandemic led to restrictions on travel. That's odd. I don't understand that. How could they raise output as demand went down?
That's what they were doing.
And consequently into
That's what they were doing,
weird.
and it backfired on Donald Trump. This is very intricate.
Yeah.
You know, the relationships
It
that
is.
that he has, and a lot of people, the minute you mention Russia, they're going to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're talking about Russiagate and all that shit." I'm not going there.
Yeah.
We're not going there because, you know, there's a lot of blame to go around, and I don't absolve Russia as this, like, you know, beautiful glowing place that just, oh, they just want the best for us. I'm not I don't even like to use the words Russia Gate, but I know what happens the minute you go on to any. Excuse me, guys, I gotta pull up. And the minute you go on to oh my God, my chair fell down. The minute you go onto Twitter, yeah, it's an old chair. The minute you go on to Twitter, and you talk about anything about Russia, they accuse you know you get accused of talking about Russiagate, and that's not what we're talking about here. You know, especially in science. But all right, well, let's meander over to Robert Hunsinger. We're going to change gears a little bit, guys. We're going to the Arctic. Yes.
Right.
And you know what? Sometimes the Arctic is scary. It is scary.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
It is. Okay. Let's see. You want to take it away or you want me to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, I'll get started and we'll see how we do. How about we kind of
Sounds good to me. We're hanging loose, guys.
So, we're hanging loose.
We're hanging
just kind
loose.
of see how we're being agile.
Yes.
That's the buzzword everywhere these days, right, guys?
Agile. Although
so
I'm not agile.
This came out November 6th, just 2 days ago, a troubling discovery in the Arctic. A notable satellite telephonic call made to colleagues in late October from Swedish scientist Örjan Gustafsson of Stockholm University briefly described a haunting discovery. On board the research ship RV Academic Keldysh, a 6,240-ton Russian scientific research vessel equipped with 17 onboard laboratories and a library far off the coast of Russia, Dr. Gustafsson reported, this East Siberian slope of methane hydrate system has been perturbed and is in the process ongoing. That satellite call referenced a sleeping giant that has enough carbon firepower to adversely impact the world's climate system. The expedition discovered methane, CH4, that had been securely frozen in shallow subsea permafrost wet waters forever and ever and ever. Now stirring. Colloquially, the monster of the north awakened. Although in fairness to accuracy, the ESOS has been perturbed and seeping into the atmosphere for some time. But now it's much worse than ever before, and terrifyingly, it's more noticeable to passersby like expeditions of discerning scientists.
Right.
After all, there are scientists who believe the East Siberian Arctic Shelf and neighboring Russia coastlines, continental shelf seas contain enough methane and frozen hydrates to change human history forever. unfortunately not for the betterment of civilization. The East Siberian Arctic Shelf, as well as other Arctic seas off Russia's northern coastline, has been the subject of clashing opinions within the scientific community. Over the years, mainstream science has talked down the risks, right? Making
Mm.
it seem less, minimizing it, of a massive methane breakout in Arctic waters, which
Yeah.
could start a vicious cycle of runaway global warming that would be devastating on several fronts for civilized societies and uncivilized too. So I'm just going to kind of segue here because it says the mainstream science has talked down the risks. I'd like to cite the U.S. Geologic Survey and Carolyn Ripple and her
Oh,
team.
Rupel.
She's the head of the methane hydrates division there,
Mm-hmm.
and she has seriously talked down the science, and never a good thing to do. That's like when you start to diverge from truth, and then who knows where you're going to go. You're not telling the truth, and you can no longer be trusted once you've decided to diverge from the truth for political reasons, personal, who knows what
And
reasons,
we've
right?
been through this back in when that Yale Climate Connections article came out,
Yeah,
and people are trying to downplay this, but it's
right,
happening. It's
right.
happening.
Right. So we're going to illustrate this. 3 years ago, the U.S. Geological Survey labeled Arctic hydrates as one of the world's four most serious causation events of abrupt climate change. Yet, according to USGS geophysicist Carolyn Ripple, who oversees USGS Hydrates Project, after so many years spent determining where gas hydrates are breaking down and measuring methane flux at the sea-air interface, we suggest that conclusive evidence for the release of hydrate-related methane to the atmosphere is lacking. Thank you,
Unbelievable.
Carolyn Rupel, for contributing to fake news. According to USGS calculations, sediments in the Arctic contain a huge quantity of frozen methane and other gases, known as hydrates. Along those lines, it's important to note that methane, CH4, has a warming effect 80 times stronger than carbon dioxide over its initial 20 years, meaning CH4 has a sharper, quicker impact on global warming than CO2 does. And that we know is true. That USGS position, no conclusive evidence about the risk of methane release, is now 3 years old. Thus, this new discovery prompts a logical question. Does the current expedition provide conclusive evidence of a change? Meaning, what's the likelihood of an abrupt shift in the planet's climate system as a result of this new discovery? Assuming a major CH4 release or big burp is possible, it could lead to planet-wide upheaval. Accordingly, the expedition team reported, at this moment, it is unlikely to be any major impact on global warming, but the point of that process has now been triggered. So therein lies the problem. It has been triggered. The methane bomb has gone off. It's just starting, and it's irrevocable. It cannot be reversed. That's important to know. And it's also important to know the quantity of methane is mind-boggling and staggering beyond imagination. Other than that, no problem. Along those
Oh,
lines,
just no
a
problem.
Latin proverb suffices. Forewarned is forearmed. Clearly, the results of academic Keldysh expedition qualify as forewarned. No doubt about that. All of which prompts a significant question. How will countries throughout the world respond to this newly discovered risk to climate systems with this potential damage to agriculture and coastline cities beyond recognition? Interesting question. In that regard, based upon the nations of the world failing to adhere to voluntary commitments of the Paris 2015 Climate Accord to reduce carbon emissions, which in fact increase year over year, the answer is it's not encouraging, not at all. Indeed, it is questionable that any nation state anywhere will actually forearm as a result of this new report signaling the East Siberian slope methane hydrate system has been perturbed. Like a dragon.
Perturbed. It's been perturbed.
Furthermore, what does four-armed even look like? Realistically, how does a country prepare for an all-out assault on agriculture and coastlines by an out-of-whack runaway climate system? Good luck with that. Meanwhile, official reports, 60-member team aboard academic Keldysh expedition, the findings are only preliminary. The true scale of the discovery will be confirmed when full complements of data are analyzed and published, peer-reviewed in a scientific journal. Significantly and tellingly, the discovery includes 6 monitoring points over a slope of 150 kilometers by 10 kilometers with clouds and bubbles released from the sediment. This is like 150 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide. Wow. It should be noted that clouds and bubbles obviously implies one hell of a lot of methane erupting from the seafloor. In point of fact, some measurements registered methane concentrations 400 times higher than should be seen if the sea and atmosphere were in equilibrium. By way of comparison to planetary distances, 400 times higher than equilibrium is a trip to Pluto. I love this man.
I do too.
Robert
Hunziker is
lives
great.
in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've asked him to come on. And of course, as everybody, it's like, well, I have this, that, and the other thing, but I need follow through. So we'll see, Jen.
No, he's really good.
Yes,
he's really
absolutely. Good. Forest Dweller just said Natalia Shakova, quote, a large methane. Oh, that's right. We learned from Jim. Shakova.
Right.
A large methane burst, burp, call it whatever you like, is possible at any time. And that's not alarmist. It's just preparedness. And it could happen.
It's scientific. And it's sad and it's scary, but it doesn't mean you don't tell people about it. It doesn't mean you make up stories and say it's not going to happen, that it's not a risk. That's beyond unethical, right? I don't even really know what the word is, but it's bad, right?
It's bad. It's bad.
It's bad.
Hey, we look pretty good tonight there. I'm looking at the phone and the graphics look pretty good. Dare I?
Congratulations on your new connectivity tower.
Yeah, let's hope this is going to be a good thing for us, Jen, and that the sky's the limit.
Hope so. That's right.
So we have now. Wait, Heidi said, should we fire up the soundtrack for Lawrence Welk with the bubbles? You know what, Heidi? That gives me a really good idea. I am going to find that sound effect. I'm definitely going to find the sound effect. Heidi, and it's good to see Heidi.
The freaking magnitude of this methane, Sandy, in the Arctic. You think about the magnitude of it. These are seeps, 150 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide. Huh? Right?
Yeah.
You know? So I like to kind of put forward a thought. Buoyancy.
Okay.
Buoyancy. So in order to sail a ship on water, it has to be lighter than the water. Is that correct? Right? It has to be lighter than the water in order to sail upon the water. What if the buoyancy of the water was to decrease significantly due to the carbonation, due to the methane seeps 10 kilometers wide, right? What if the overall buoyancy of the water changed?
Wow,
do you know what would happen? Do you know what would happen?
You're going to tell us.
Yeah. Well, what would happen was, and it's just great, all the shipping routes are opening up. But what if the overall buoyancy of the water significantly decreases? the ship will
Oh
sink.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Jennifer, that's like scary. I'm wondering if these
yeah.
Russian art,
It's a new
if they
Hollywood
thought,
movie. It's a new
yeah,
Hollywood movie.
yeah, Fright Night. Oh my
Yeah, no
gosh.
kidding.
Well, I'm going to go to the next one because we are a little long in the tooth here, but we have the one, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, as everybody knows already that's here, but hopefully people will learn that aren't here. The Arctic Ocean, why winter sea ice has stalled, and what it means for the rest of the world. Now, we know that this is happening, but we'll go through it again because it's important, and Joe Biden has to understand why. Him and his science advisors, hopefully they're great. They will tell him how important this is. That it's game over, Joe. Even if he can't do anything about it, he's got to know. But the Arctic, I'm not. All right, we know that it plays a crucial role in the Earth's energy balance. It is covered for most of the year by snow, which is the brightest natural surface on the planet, reflecting about 80% of that solar radiation that hits it back out into space, right? And then the ocean floor it floats on its darkest natural surface on the planet, absorbing 90% of incident solar radiation. For that reason, changes in sea ice cover have a big impact on how much sunlight the planet absorbs and how fast it warms up. So I'm going to skip through this. We know what's happening, that the multi-year ice has shrunk by half in the last 40 years. And we know that the shutting down the sea ice factory, the oceans have a large thermal capacity, which means they can store huge amounts of heat, and which is like this with the Laptep C. See, we have the
Mm-hmm.
pictures here. And again, I wanted to go through this quickly because everybody does know, and we do have a few graphs that I wanted to show too as we went on. But it's just very important to know this is what's happening. And of course, this one we had showed. I think we showed this Zach Labe one a while ago. This is from October 13th.
Mm-hmm.
But
And it's
basically,
important to note that it still has not frozen. The
no.
Arctic sea ice in the Laptev Sea is still flatlining. When was this updated? October 13th. I
Yeah,
don't know if
this
it
is an older
started to
one.
freeze yet
I
or
don't think
not. This is
anything
a couple of
has.
weeks old. But we'll see
Yeah,
if we can get, I think actually, Sandy, we have a new Zach Lab graphic coming
we
up
do.
in your Twitter feed.
One of the things, though, I wanted to pull up again was the one methane one, the mixing ratio of methane layer. The you had the quote that we had for this one, but I don't know if we want to go through this one. We could just show it, and then everybody can see. And then there was another one I had. Oh, this was nope. This has to come up. All right, this will come up when we go to Twitter, because and then we have a little
Hmm.
video that I decided that we would play because Zach Labe shared it. So
Oh,
Jennifer,
good.
we did have the Polar Stern article. Quickly, we had the Polar Stern article that we're not going to go into a lot, but guys, in the future, we're going to cover this extensively. And they are home after a year trapped in the sea ice, and they say nature's still boss in the Arctic. So I'm not going to, like, again, we're not going to go through this whole thing, but just know that we will be covering the mosaic, and we are really interested in the research that comes out of this.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping to be able to possibly bring on some, maybe one or two of the scientists. It's called reach out and follow up, which sometimes I'm not the greatest at. So if anybody might want to help me, you want to be my administrative assistant out there. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I really want to go to Twitter, though. Let's go to Twitter and
Okay.
look at Zach's, because after we look at Zach, I am going to play a video that Zach actually shared on his page. The latest stuff he has on is this one, which is this was 2 hours. After a record slow start, Arctic sea ice is very rapidly growing and filling in around the Siberian coast. This is good news. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, this is like really good news that we can.
Not, yeah, it's good.
Oh
It's
my
the sea is
gosh.
the ice is forming.
Wow. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
hearing
good.
it live on our show. Yay. Thank you, Zach.
Yay.
Data from the NSIDC. The basin is geographically constrained. Okay. So you can see in this, Jennifer, do you see this graph?
Yeah, I do see it.
Do you want to articulate a little bit about it?
Sure.
The red.
Well,
Okay, go for it.
yeah, it looks like just until late October, we were pretty well flatlined in the Laptev Sea. Was completely melted, and even though the days were getting much, much shorter, there was no evidence of any ice. And then it looks like about the 20th of October or so, it started to refreeze. And now it's going up in a normal sort of direction, albeit much further out because it's so late in the season, but it is
Sure.
refreezing and the extent is rapidly growing. So that's a good thing. That's a
It
really, really, really
is.
good thing.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
because
we
we
didn't
don't,
see this 2 hours ago. We were on
no,
earlier. Oh my gosh, what we had seen was his thing on trends in November of Arctic ice, sea ice
yeah,
thickness over the last 4 decades, and I had let me see, I had this graphic. Oh, if I can find this graphic, but I made it bigger. And
yeah,
this was the sea ice thickness trends.
right.
He just makes beautiful stuff.
I love Zach so much.
I would love to have him come with
That's
us
also
too.
a very, yeah, that's also a very interesting graphic. The deep red, of course, being the thicker ice, and still it is not very thick. It's let's see,
No.
sea ice thickness trends, meter
Mm-hmm.
per decade.
Decade. Okay, so
Meter
but see
per
how light it
decade.
is? Yeah, it was darker. It was darker and now it's light. Let's see what he says on the
November.
page. He says he says unsurprisingly ice is thinning across the entire Arctic Ocean. However, it's just great that he got this, this other that the
Yeah.
sea ice is rapidly
When
growing.
did he
But
post that? Two
two
hours
hours
ago. So
ago.
yeah,
Yeah, two
when
hours
you and
ago.
I talked earlier today, that wasn't yet
No,
out.
no, it wasn't. So this
Hot
is
off the press,
awesome.
guys. Hot
I
off the
know,
press.
I know. He has another
Yeah.
one which was 10 hours ago. And this is a graphic. That's why I couldn't send it to you, Jen. It's 100 years of October sea surface ice temperatures anomalies. And note the long term warming and
Yeah.
emergence of La Nina. So this one I like because it's October sea surface temperature anomalies, but it is moving and shaking. It's a good one, but and it goes see from 1930 and you can see, oh my gosh, you see the temperature anomalies
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
disturbing as hell. But you could go through his
Yeah.
whole thing and
Well,
and
the thing is about this, just kind of watching this graphic in front of us
uh-huh.
as time progresses, the important thing to notice is how much the trends, right? The trends are irrevocable and very, I mean, the ocean, that's 70%, 70 how much percent
Yep.
of the surface of this planet. And when the ocean heats up, it takes a lot of energy to get that ocean heated up. But now that ocean is heating up. And what's the result? Well, look at this year. We've had 28 named storms. That's
Yeah.
huge. And it
Huge.
takes a lot of energy to make these hurricanes. It takes a hot sea. Now, as the sea gets hotter, it's just completely logical to think and understand that we are going to have many more hurricanes, for example. It's just going to happen. You'll notice more hurricanes, and it'll vary a little bit year to year, but the overall trend will be up.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to go. I had going south. He had a little comment.
Oh, did he?
And yeah, and I understand his comment because Zach is a climate scientist. He has to toe the line. I mean, if he goes too far out, it's not good for him. I understand it. And if everybody would listen to Frank Rodering's interview that I did the other day, you can get a little flavor for the distrust of climate scientists because of the fact that they have to toe the line. Anyway, listen, guys, I want to show you this. Jennifer and I, we saw this, and I have a little video. Zach Labe, he shared this Kamala Harris video. This election is so much more than about Joe Biden or me. It's about the soul of America and our willingness to fight for it. And guys, I am going to show you this video right now. So sit back for a minute and just feel a little patriotic if you're an American.
Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties. But now wait a minute. I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned not good. Yes, he did. Heavy brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me sing this. America, America, I love you, America. You see, my God, he done shed his face on thee. Oh, Lord, I thank you, Lord.
Well, of course, it's you know, it's a feel good song, and the graphics were very nice, very, very nice. And I'm sure that some of our audience will probably say, "Oh my God, yucky yuck!" But it was just it was a little heartwarming. Come on, let's bask. I mean, in our
It was
childhood,
lovely. I
yeah,
loved it.
I liked it too. So
really loved
that
it.
was what I had. What did we have? Anything else? Let's see. I had one more from Climate Ben, and I had something that I had pulled up, but I don't remember. Oh, here. Wait. Is it this one? No, that's not it. I'm going to go down a little bit because he let's see. Okay, here we go. Here we go. And I have this. Major ecosystem collapse. Number 1, set to happen before 2021 to 2039. Great Barrier Reef already dying. Amazon forest at tipping point. Arctic irreversible damage has begun. Tioga biome faces destruction. The Congo Basin now at risk. Stop emissions by 2025 to 2029. End deforestation now. And I had the graphic a little bit bigger, and I'm pretty sure this is the graphic. Is this graphic? Yes, this was the graphic that he had. It was I couldn't get any better, but this was a abrupt exposure. This was species. He was talking about species in this graphic. And it's a little bit of a different kind of graphic than we usually look at. But he shows all species included in this, and it's pretty high number of species that are going to go. Yeah. So,
well, it roughly follows the equator, so you can see that's where it's going to get the hottest. Yeah, of course. It roughly follows the equator, and it'll expand into the temperate versions.
There's the title. It roughly follows the equator. Jen and I have a little secret going. We do. We have a little secret going. But, and this is basically it for tonight. We've had a good show. And let's see if we have any comments out there. Human says, as a fallen angel, I'm worried. Anybody have any comments before we say goodnight? Because we really care and we're really happy you came. We had, don't forget to click up and we're hoping when I watch this over that we will see that I have to say, guys, I did a speed test and my upload speed went up by like 200%. I started crying.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy came yesterday. So yes. So anybody, Captain Nemo, let's see. Yes, that includes RF radio frequency emissions. Good luck with that. As Musk Starlink %G bake is on. Okay, that sounds like something they're talking about in there. Scott Andrews, I think we're going to need a bigger planet. Yeah, you know what? Or we're gonna be mining asteroids, right? So yeah, yeah.
That's a great quote. You know, Hollywood has given us so much.
Oh, I was watching.
And so much to kind of springboard off of as well. That's a great one. Thanks for putting that. We're going to need a bigger planet. That's
right.
Funny.
That's a good one. Osama's patriotism is the willingness to kill and be killed for trivial reasons. Bertrand Russell. Oh, Osama, you come up with some good ones. And thank you, Osama, for your help all the time, technical help. Osama is part of this channel because he's why, basically, I started this quest with him. So to get better internet.
That's amazing.
Jim and Tanya, thanks for the show. Don't forget to look at Jim's Friday, every single Friday in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. His climate change protest in Gettysburg. He is articulate and amazing. And don't forget, going south, he's got the best graphs on Twitter on the COVID and other things, as well as, of course, he's an Arctic ice specialist. So this is great. And wait. Heidi said there's an event tonight. Oh, wait, Gary. That was Gary. No, I can't find her. Your guys are going too fast. An event on Carl Sagan. Something tonight. Great. Said. Okay. Well, anyway, Jennifer, what would you like to say? What would you like to say to everyone?
Well, despite the overall trend and irrevocability of our situation, we had a great victory here in the United States. And I'd just like to reiterate, the entire world breathed a collective sigh of relief in a certain way because, we know we're all fucked up and going nowhere good, but at least we can go there without an orange pumpkin serenading us with lunacy. We don't need a mango Mussolini to guide our every fucking step. We're just fine with sanity. So good for science. Let's keep looking at this, and love you guys.
Love you guys too. Thanks for coming. I am only going to put on a couple of minutes of the end, but thank you. We'll see you next Sunday. Jennifer, I love you. Great show.
Love you too.
Everything went off without a hitch. I love you all. Thank you. Thank you.